Brian, Nato, and Acacia Courtney with you as we take a look at our first mandatory Rainbow Six of the championship meet. Acacia, we're expecting a pool anywhere of $6 to $8 million. It's a very, very tough sequence.
Yes, it is. You have some stakes action in there as well. Looking forward to it. It does kick off in race number 6 on Saturday. I have a $76.80 ticket. I had a tough time with the first couple of legs, Brian. I have 4 horses in the opening leg, which is on the turf for a non-winners of 2 claiming race that's super competitive in the 6th race. I went 4 deep in the 7th as well. A quality laden maiden special weight, 2 from Todd Pletcher that are firsters, Bill Mott's second-time starter, and Volcanic, whose last start was in the Grade 1 Hopeful. The Grade 3 Tropical Turf is the 8th. I have the 2 favorites with Largent and Value Proposition. 3 horses in race 9. The wild card is Mish. What do we get second time for Saffie Joseph Jr.? I like Amber Sand cutting back, Raise the Rent first off the claim. In the 10th race, it was either Use a Ton or Single, and I ended up going with the one I think is the class and psychic ability for a single. And then 4 deep to wrap things up. My long shot play of the day is Space Runner, second time on the turf, but then using the logical favorites with him.
Yeah, we have a lot of the same thought process here on this sequence. I've got 86.40. Like you, a deep spread in race 6. We'll talk about it in a second. 2-3-6 for me. The 2 Pletcher firsters you mentioned, and of course Touch Code, who ran so well on debut for Bill Mott. The 2 favorites for me in the Tropical Turf. I couldn't really separate them, and I think the gap to the rest of the field is a pretty big one. Mish for sure in race 9, along with the 7, 8, 9, and what is, you and I talked off the air, it's a tremendous Florida bred optional claimer. I singled Psychic Ability too. You said it perfectly. It's one or all of them, and she looks very, very live. First time Saffie off the layoff, and then 2-7-9 in the get out leg. Globes might be loose with Paco getting aboard. Gelding and Lasix. I'll take a chance there at a nice price in a race where certainly Gooch Go Bra and Charming Charlie are the ones to beat. But let's go back to the opener, race 6, about 2:35 in the PM, so take note of that as this pool is going to get very, very big in here. It's a 35-2L. We're 6 mile and 16th, excuse me, on the turf. You alluded to it. I'm agreeing with you totally, Acacia. It is a deep spread for me.
It is, and you do have 2 from Mike Maker. I gave preference as far as the top pick goes to Tackle. I used Rally Squirrel further down. He was just so disappointing last time out. We'll see if he can run back to that New York-bred maiden score 2 back. I think that the number 8 Maker of an Empire is going to run a lot better today, though. Fractious in the gate, you saw it in the short comment, and I think that really took a lot of the starch out of him before the race even began, and he's second off the layoff now, too, for Mark Casse.
Yeah, I agree. He's firmly in my mix, too. I had him in 4th. I went with the 2 Makers. I put Rally Squirrel on top. Lightly raced, the pink and yellow of Mike Dubb go on. We know how sharp an owner he is off the claim, and, there's still some upside here. You're right. Didn't run well at all last time, but was facing winners and really wasn't beaten all that much. We're inside, certainly Tackle with Gaffalione. The Maker barn's been a little slow to start the meet. So, that's another reason why I didn't want to get too tied on with them, but I think they're going to be tough in here. And then I'll mention the 4 Caribbean Gold, who's got some prior back turf course races. Bobby DeBona claims off Mike Maker. Tough to improve off Mike, but some races that play there. The 7th is exciting. It kicks off the late pick 5 as well, and I think, it's the championship meet kind of maiden special weight. There's horses in here that are going places. We go a mile here, 3 and up, a couple Pletcher firsters that certainly look like they're going to A, take a lot of money, and B, have a lot of talent.
They absolutely do. Charge It and Calipari, you'd have to imagine for a horse named Calipari, as we were saying, you kind of guessed that they felt that one was going to be a good one with that kind of name. I actually preferred the other one. This is just based off of looking at pedigrees and watching workouts on XBTV. I haven't seen either of them in person yet, but I really liked what I saw from Charge It. His workmate, too, back at Palm Beach Downs in the Union, is entered this weekend at Tampa to debut for Todd, but this horse was always going better, a homebred from Andy Pope's Whisper Hill Farm. Meanwhile, Calipari two back on XBTV you can watch. He worked with Afjan, who was 6 on debut. He worked in blinkers, which I don't love, and he seemed to be a little bit second best. So we'll see, but I think you have to use both.
Yeah, and charge it. The dam was only 1 for 5, but she's a half-sister to Take Charge Indy, who won our Florida Derby, and Will Take Charge, who I believe was champion 3-year-old for the coach. So a huge pedigree here down inside. Touch Code is the one I think we both agree of the horses with experience has the biggest chance. A half to West Coast, who earned over $5 million, ran in the Pegasus here, and was a very solid second on debut. Emmanuel ran off the screen that day for Todd Pletcher. Bill Mott, not necessarily a guy that's going to crank him up early. You would think you get a big move forward today from Touch Code.
And I have a little bit of a horse crush on Touch Code, too. He's absolutely beautiful. So he will have to improve, I think, off of that first race. The figure for that race as a whole, I thought, came back a little slow. So we'll see. There does seem to be some blue sky. The wild card is Volcanic, who we last saw on the Hopeful. He didn't run that day. His maiden special weight race at Saratoga, 2-back, and I had actually liked him a bit that day, too. I think would kind of put him in the mix if you figure in improvement from 2 to 3.
By Violence out of a Pulpit mare, so this trip should be within his within his scope. Lasix blinkers on too. Quickly look at trending as well. We mentioned in the office, this starts the late pick 5, but you can check the double will pays when you're starting the Rainbow in race 6, and maybe you get an idea if any of these firsters are live, or conversely if they're not. If you see a horse like Charge It a little dead on the board, I'd be a little leery.
I agree. I think it's a good race to figure out how things may be playing, and maybe some of the ones with experience will step forward.
Late pick 4 time as well here in race 8, and it's the feature. It's the grade 3 tropical turf, and there's some nice horses in here, but it looks like a showdown between the returning Largent and the very informed Value Proposition.
We haven't seen Largent in nearly a year. His last start was in the Pegasus World Cup Turf, where he was second by just a neck behind his stablemate Colonel Liam. He ran a huge race that day. He's run really well off the layoff before. I can imagine he's been a frustrating horse for Todd Pletcher. Value Proposition, if you're wondering what happened with him in the lore back in Saratoga while he raced for purse money only, he actually threw a shoe at the gate, so the option was to scratch or run for purse money only. He's one. I worried a little bit about the stretch back out.
Yeah, that's what I have circled on my page here. I'm not sure, is he a 2-turn horse? Is he a 1-turn horse? Is he just really versatile? Largent down inside, the MO for Todd is not really to run back in 3 weeks, but you mentioned it. The Pegasus is 3 weeks, so what do you get today? How cranked is he to win today with obviously bigger goals down the line, if it's the Pegasus, if it's something else? So I wonder about that. Certainly Value Proposition, if nothing else, has a recency edge. He might even have a little bit of a tactical edge too.
He does. He has the ability to be forward, which I think is really a big deal for him. He'll probably sit just off Flying Scotsman.
If there is a chaotic race, it's the next 2, actually. Race 9, certainly a Florida-bred optional claimer here. We go 6 on the main track. I went with Mish on top. He's, I believe you mentioned 10 to 1 on the morning line. I don't know what we're going to get today. Very weird, private purchase 2-back off the big win. They bring him up to Churchill. He doesn't run at all. Now he's back with friends here. I don't really know what we're going to get, but to me it might be the truest first start for Safi, because obviously it didn't work out last time.
He had an outside post, and you brought it up too, that it was kind of a time period where Safi's horses out of town outside Florida weren't really running to the high percentage that we're used to seeing. Obviously the barn is batting at 24% throughout the meet here, so the horses are running, and he's got Irad Ortiz in an inside post, a really strong Florida-bred race, and it is his first time in restricted Florida-bred company. Though those maiden races in October, he wasn't in for the tag because he is a Florida-bred.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde kind of horse. He might win by 4, he might run 8th. We'll see what we get today. I know you like Ampersand a little bit. I faded him in here. I'm going to play against him. He's got prior form, though. His last wasn't that great, but he does have plenty of prior races that would make him a player here.
I've just always felt that he looks more like a sprinter. I wonder if he's really fast enough to be a sprinter, if that makes sense, if he kind of gets run off his feet a bit. But I feel like if there is a time to try him, he'll be a little bit of a price, I hope, today with some of the others in here, and maybe his figures are a little light recently, and he is against restricted Florida-bred company.
Certainly Raise the Rent and Twice Too Many coming off really, really strong, really, really fast efforts. I worry a little bit. Can they back it up? Raise the Rent is the Jekyll and Hyde horse. He crushes off the long layoff. He doesn't run 2-back, and then he circles back around. I don't know what we're going to get today off the claim as well for Kelly Breen.
did break through the gate 2 starts back. It might have taken something out of him, but I thought it was really interesting that Kelly dips in to claim him, comes back here. This is not really a layup spot by any means. It came up really salty. He is one that I think if we see the true raise the rent, so to speak, he could be really, really a big player. And I do think it's interesting, too, that his debut back in 2020 was behind Mutasa Beck, who does return this weekend as well.
I thought it was interesting he was even in for 35 last time. It was a little dicey. The one horse, the funky horse I'm going to throw out here is the 9. Think about it. He tossed the turf race last time. The run 2 back, I'm wondering if just maybe he bounced a little bit off such a big return in October. If he can get back to that 3rd start back in October, I think he's a threat in here. Probably what's going to be a big number, too.
Yeah, this is a wide open race, and it really, I think, speaks to the quality of the Florida breds in here, too.
Yeah, good point. Race 10 is another one that's going to be problematic. It's probably going to separate a lot of tickets in this Rainbow 6. It's an optional claimer here. Fillies and mares 4 and up. We go 6 on the main track. We both singled Psychic Ability, right? And I think the problem with this race is if it's not her, who is it? And, you know, we're on a budget here. We're not going to use 8 horses, so we singled what we think is the best horse. The layoff is an issue. First time Safi. How cranked is she today?
She's got some real questions to answer today, and I agree. For me, it was either use her or use 5. So that's why I ended up singling to keep the ticket affordable. I thought Wild America had a chance, Sprout Wings, We Miss Susie. All of those horses could be intriguing in here. Psychic Ability, it is just a trainer change, has been with Red Oak all along. Her sprint races were stronger, so I hope that the turn back does help as well.
6 horses, 6 of the 10 horses come out of the We Miss Susie race, including We Miss Susie, who absolutely aired last time. It was a pace that held pretty well together. A lot of the stalker closers are back, too. I gave a look to Playera, the 2, the 8 Bargain Air, because I think they were up against it that day in the terms of the flow of the race. I think it might be a little more to their liking today.
That'll be a good one. Yeah, it really does revolve around the likes of Psychic Ability. If you have a strong opinion against her, this could potentially be a race to find some more value.
We'll wrap it up in race 11. We hope you're still alive. I think you're in a pretty good spot if you are, because it is a tough sequence. We're on the turf here. $50,000 maiden claimer. The Florida breds can get in without running for the tag a mile. Certainly Gooch Go Bra and Charming Charlie have the best form on turf. They also don't have to win.
They don't, and I don't know if I really trust either of them in this spot. It is for both of them, given the fact that they're Kentucky breds, a theoretical drop in class because they're in for the 50. Gooch Cobra adds blinkers. He's disappointed at a short price in his last couple of starts. We've kind of seen his game, and then you hope Charming Charlie can show some speed once again, but he does have to work out a trip from the outside. Long shot play, as I mentioned in the rundown, Space Runner, who I liked on turf, but thought that he needed that race off the layoff, and I'm intrigued by the stretch out.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Globes getting, not stretching out, but with Paco down inside, Lasix and Gelding. A lot going on here in the finale where the favorites, like we mentioned, are tough. They don't have to win, and that could really blow it up. So that's our Rainbow Six preview. Again, we're hoping for 6-8 million in the pool. Make sure you check the scratches, the weather conditions, and all that. Best of luck.